You want to shut that door, Stephen? So I believe today is the 80th day of session. I thought I'd give you a progress report and also two big stories breaking today. Number one, as you may or may not know, the 15th Circuit has dropped all those lawsuits against A through F. A through F is a bill that I championed when I was in the Senate, championed as a chair of public education, and I've championed as lieutenant governor. Before A through F, on districts and schools, parents didn't know what the result of their school was in terms of how it graded out. It was either met standard or didn't meet standard. So now every parent will know, just like they know on their child's report card how the child is doing, how their school is doing. Will it be an A? Will it be a B? Or will it fall to an F or a C? And you know, elementary schools are such a foundation for learning. And elementary schools, we have more campuses of those than we have middle schools and high schools. And so they're in neighborhoods everywhere. And when parents are driving down the street and they see maybe their child's school getting a C and a mile down the road or 2 miles down the road, another elementary school getting an A, they're going to ask questions. This is one of the best tools to create competition and excellence. And it's very interesting, even though there have been these lawsuits stopping the ratings from becoming public, superintendents and principals who had A and B schools and districts were very proud to leak them. So those who get good grades love A through F, and those who do not, some of those were the ones trying to stop it. So this is a big day for that. Secondly, a big day for parents, and it will improve education. Another big issue for those in Houston. Do we have anyone from the Chronicle here? I'm not sure. But after Hurricane Beryl, I went to a committee hearing with CenterPoint, and I said that the ratepayers have been and will be overcharged about $880 million because of bad decisions by CenterPoint on investing in big generators that could not help anyone during the storm. We've been negotiating for a long time, and I thank CenterPoint today for announcing that the ratepayers will be made whole, in fact, more than whole. They will return over $900 million to all ratepayers. So the ratepayers under CenterPoint will not be on the hook for the bad business decisions made by CenterPoint. We've been negotiating with them for more than a year. And finally, they came to the table. And again, I applaud them for doing the right thing by the ratepayers. As far as where we are in the session, the Senate has now passed over 200 bills out of the Senate, including 29 of our 40 priorities. I don't like to say my priorities. I know that's what everyone says, Lieutenant Governor's priorities. But of the 40, 8 are mine, in essence. Bills that I thought of, bills that I wanted to push, and bills that I thought would have support from the public and the members. The other 32 bills are priorities of senators. Bills they've worked on, like Senate Bill 7 on the water bill that Charles Perry spends his whole life working on. So the 40 priority bills come from the people, they come from the senators, they come from outside interests who say this would be a great bill to help Texas in this direction, and they come from me. So I'm proud that our Senate is working well together. The House at this point, I think, has passed 10 bills. We passed 200. And we have referred all the bills they've sent over to us. Look, I have confidence in Speaker Burrows. Everything he has said has been, I would say, we're singing from the same songbook. But now, during these next 8 to 9 weeks, the execution has to take place in the House. If they're still at a slow pace in another 2 weeks, I'll get greatly concerned because time is critical. But I believe Speaker Burrows is committed to what he's promised, and that includes passing school choice and a litany of conservative bills. But now's the time to get into action. We will continue to work as we always do, and by next week, or maybe a few days after that, but before Tax Day on April 15th, we will have all of our priority bills over the House by then, or at least 99% of them, I would say. And we'll continue to pass other bills out of the Senate. I'm very proud of the Senate, and we passed many bills on a bipartisan basis. I want to hit some highlights, because we've done, quite frankly, we put out so many press releases and passed so many bills that you all had a hard time keeping up with them, and so did the citizens, 4 and 5 a day. School choice, obviously, we passed out very early. Banning THC in Texas passed, I think, 29-2. And I think you've seen more stories. I guess it was in February, we see the story of the sad, sad story of a 15-year-old got hold of some THC-filled gummies and shot his mother and killed her. Some people say, we don't quite understand why we're banning THC and what does that mean for others. Look, we're not banning the compassionate use program. In fact, we're expanding it for veterans who have PTSD or cancer patients and children with certain diseases. We're expanding that. But we must stop. We must stop this poison that's being sold to our children. Our job is to public safety and to protect our children. And if you look at the THC smoke shops, compare them to McDonald's and Starbucks. There are about 2,500 Starbucks and McDonald's combined, and there are 8,000 smoke shops. And where did they build? They built around schools within 1,000 feet to 2,500 feet. So who are their customers? Don't kid yourself. They're marketing to the kids, and it's poisoning our kids. And you've heard the testimony from just tragic cases of paranoia and schizophrenia. People are learning that THC is very dangerous to adults as well as children. You don't know what's in the product. Very strong, stronger than you'd buy from a drug dealer on the street in many cases. I thank Specs Liquor, one of the biggest liquor stores in Texas. They've taken THC off the shelves. That's a big development. The Restaurant Association representatives told me that restaurants have stopped selling, many of them, drinks with THC in them because some of their customers got out of control after 2 drinks. You just don't know how your body's going to react because you don't know what's in THC. It could be anything. It's an $8 billion business, and we can't regulate it. We need to shut it down. It's illegal, and I have confidence the House will do it, and in the end, we will ban it. Another key bill is our homestead exemption for seniors. To date, and you may not know this number, but in 2017, we had spent about $2 billion in property tax relief, which increased our homestead from $15,000 to $25,000. And the homestead exemption had been $15,000 for all of you, if you own a home, everyone watching, forever. And then we took it to $40,000, and then we took it to $100,000. This year, again, 2017, about $2.5 billion for property tax relief. This year, our bill, the cumulative effect of everything we've done will be over $50 billion for property tax relief. Our goal is the $140,000 exemption to go from $100 to $140,000, and I'm working with Senator Burrows. I keep saying Senator, Speaker Burrows, and the governor. We want to take the homestead exemption to $200,000 for seniors. That will remove almost every senior in the state of Texas, almost everyone, from paying any M&O taxes anymore. Today, the school M&O tax is already down 41% from where it was 5 years ago of what we've done. We need to rid that totally. But I believe that working with the Speaker and the governor, we can get that homestead exemption at $200,000 this year for seniors. And again, that will wipe out almost every senior from having to pay any M&O school tax, which is the biggest part of their bill. One of the things we always have to remind folks of is your property taxes are about half schools and about half local taxes. And let me just turn that off, I'm sorry. Forgive me for that. Half your property tax bill are local taxes. It can be your county tax, in all cases it is. You may have a community college tax or a hospital district tax, and then all the bonds that are passed. And about 86% of all bonds are passed by the folks. So we're doing all we can at the state level to decrease your property taxes, but on the local level, they have to do their part also. We're going to close some loopholes that counties have taken advantage of, because we have to constantly, every session, focused on reducing property taxes. Our water bill, huge, $2.5 billion investment. We may do even more. Charles Perry's bill, Senator 7. Probably the greatest risk to Texas moving forward is water. It's water. You can't have life without water. And we have a lot of water in certain parts of the state, but other states we do not. And of course, we've had a drought. So that is a big investment for us this session, and will continue to be. The bill will put $1 billion a year or more every year moving forward into water projects. Because, again, for your readers who don't know, or if you don't know, in the past, all the water projects were paid for by cities and counties, not by the state. But the cities and counties can't afford to fix all their leaky pipes. They can't afford to do extra pipes coming in. They can't afford to create new water supplies. So in essence, the state is stepping in where the cities and counties just can't afford it. And it's going to take a huge investment over time. We've already put in a couple of billion last year into the water fund. Again, $2.5 billion this year and $1 billion every year moving forward or more. Placing the 10 Commandments in schools we think is important. We passed it last session. It didn't pass in the House. I believe Speaker Burrows wants to pass that bill, as well as putting prayer in school, volunteer time for those who want to pray in school. Stopping non-citizens from voting. We shouldn't have to pass a bill on that, but we did, and we hope the House passes that bill. If you're not a citizen of the country, you should not be able to vote in elections. Another one of our key bills. Again, we passed 29 out of the 40 so far. Establishing Texas as America's film capital. There's a lot that's kind of misunderstood by some who haven't looked at the bill. But we received letters yesterday from almost all of the Christian and faith-based filmmakers in the country, which would mean the world. And they said, with this bill, we will become the faith-based and family film capital of the world. We want to put Hollywood and their values out of business. We want to make it Texas values. And of course, we're making other films as well. For every dollar that we invest, we get about $4.60 back. That's a 400% plus return. And we know that because we've just put $200 billion in the Film Commission 2 years ago, and we know the results of that. And now we're extending it to $500 million. One filmmaker alone for The Chosen, the faith-based, Bible-based stories that are made in Midlothian, will hire 1,000 employees this year in East Texas and spend $70 million by themselves. And of course, Taylor Sheridan has made big investments in Texas. We're building hundreds of millions of studios all over Texas. There are very few things that we can spend money in that we get a $4 return for every dollar we spend. Very few things. And rural Texas is seeing film crews everywhere. Stevensville, for example, was one town that raked in around $8 to $10 million in just a week or so. And they testified the movie crew left our city better than it was before they got there, repainting everything. And people are excited about those things. So that bill passed, or will be passing next week. And it's a great way to tell the Texas story. It's a great way to export our values, and it's a great way to create thousands upon thousands of jobs in Texas, new jobs that are high-paying jobs. A couple of other bills to focus on. Increasing teacher pay. I have been the leader of that since I became lieutenant governor. 2019 was the biggest pay increase, and this year will be even bigger. Give you a stat. In 2019, the average teacher pay in Texas was $54,000 at the end of this session. It will be $69,000. That's a big increase in 5 years. We passed that same bill last session. It didn't pass the House, but we have a new speaker. You know, there's a new sheriff in town over there, and that's why I'm optimistic. I'm a little concerned about the clock ticking, but I'm optimistic that the new sheriff is going to do what he said he would do. Just a couple of other bills. Banning lottery couriers. And again, a lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people don't know that someone in Europe stole $95 million in April of 2023 when they bought 26 million $1 tickets in the lottery. 94% of all tickets. It was the biggest theft from the people of Texas in the history of Texas. Add up all the bank robberies, add up all the train robberies in the Old West, add up everyone who's stolen anything. $95 million someone stole with cooperation, I believe, of the Texas Lottery. We have 2 Texas Ranger investigations, one by the governor, one by myself, to find out was the corruption inside out, outside in, or both. And I believe at the end of the day we'll find out that the lottery has been used as the biggest money laundering scheme in the country. I'll give you this example. if you buy, I'm not a lottery ticket buyer, but if you buy 10 $1 tickets, 10 bucks, maybe you win 5 or 6 back. You lose 3, you say, okay, I took a shot at winning more money. Think if you're laundering money, you buy 10 million $1 tickets, you get 6 or 7 million back. You lost 3 million, but you just laundered all that money through the state of Texas. So this is going to be a bigger, I think, investigation than you can imagine where it's going to lead. And we're going to look at who was responsible for all this theft. The couriers, as you know, I wanted to ban them. We tried to ban them last session, 29-2. Again, that bill failed in the House. We passed it 31-0 this session. And of course, you know, the Lottery Commission has already said all the couriers are out of service. That doesn't mean, or out of business. That doesn't mean that stopped our investigation. So with that, I'll open up to any questions. Yes, sir.
Struck in a very amicable chord with the Speaker
Yes.
over and over. There was a motion to vacate,
Yeah.
logged by one member this week.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
You know, I guess it would be unfair to say with a straight face that I don't get involved in politics of the Speaker's race, since I did get involved the last session in the primary. I can't address what's going on in the House this session. We have 9 weeks to go. They have to execute. They have to perform. And Dustin has to perform. But we have a better relationship than I've had with any other speaker. A better relationship, I think, with all 3 of us working together. Doesn't mean we agree on everything. It doesn't mean we won't go to conference on a number of bills and have to resolve them. But he's saying all the right things. But now you have to deliver. And as far as the chaos, if there's chaos over there, I won't address that. That's up for them to figure out.
Can I ask you a follow-up on
Sure,
that?
sure.
So, that member, President Harrison, has been very critical of both the budget and the film incentive
Yeah.
plan you're
Yeah.
very high on.
Yeah.
Do you want to respond to those criticisms?
No, because the people who are against the film incentives are, for the most part, pretty much against any type of cooperation between the government and the private sector. They don't really understand that we do it all the time. We're in competition with North Carolina and Florida and Tennessee, 4 other, economically strong red states. And we invest. We brought Samsung here. The billions and billions and billions of dollars that they've spent. We bring small companies here. You have to compete. And the film incentive is no different. Georgia is #1 in the country, and we should be #1 in the country and bring billions of dollars to the state, hundreds of millions of dollars to the state. And if someone's against it, they're going to have to prove up why they're against it, not just say, I don't like it, whomever it is. Because the deal is, we know, based on our history, for every dollar we invest, we get 4 back. Very few investments we make in the state of Texas, we invest $100 million and we get $400 million back. So, and then what was the other bill? The budget? Look, the budget, we in the Senate passed a constitutional amendment years ago that you can't spend more than population times inflation. Our budget is under population times and inflation. And it's a conservative budget. Let me put it this way. Anyone who says this is not a conservative budget, how is it we ended up with a $40 billion surplus? How is it we ended up with a $24 billion surplus? Because we did not spend all the money. Because we saved money. How is it we have $28 billion in the rainy day fund? How did all those things happen if we haven't been extremely conservative? So if one person says, I don't like the budget, maybe that one person just wants to make news. But it's a conservative budget, and we've always had a conservative budget. And again, the major focus of what we've done with our surpluses has been property tax relief. Again, this session it will be $51 billion or more in total, compared to about 2 in 17, and teacher pay and public education. We've almost doubled the amount of money we spend in public education since I've been lieutenant governor. We've increased our road funding by about 1/3, from about $23 billion when Abbott and I came in at 15 to over $33 billion. We're putting the people's tax dollars to work in very serious ways that they expect us to do. And at the same time, we've been able, I think our reserve is probably more than half the states in the country have in their reserve. And think about the endowments we have for the University of Texas and Texas A&M. They have $39 billion in the PUF fund. So we are better positioned economically, financially, business-oriented, taking care of our folks than any other state in the country, I would say any other country in the world. And so anyone who just wants to say, well, I don't like the budget, it's not conservative enough for me, again, then how did we end up with a $40 billion surplus, a $24 billion surplus, have almost $30 billion in the rainy day fund? So I'm proud of the budget. I'm proud of the budget. Every Republican in the Senate voted for it. And let me tell you what, I've got some dang straight conservative members in the Texas Senate. Yes?
Lieutenant Governor, I know there's been a lot of conversations around property tax relief.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about the homeowners insurance side of it.
Yes.
Is there anything the legislature can be doing or can do to help with rising costs of homeowners insurance? And I also extend that same question to auto insurance.
Yeah, on both. Look, I'm paying those same increases on my autos and my homeowners insurance as everyone else. It's really frustrating. We're cutting property taxes and then it costs more to buy your insurance. There's a fine line here that we have to deal with the home insurance companies, because if they feel like they're not getting the right return, they'll just pick up and leave the state. And then there is no insurance. It's happened in California. There's a balance, but we have bills working that will make them prove up before they, to get the increase above 10%. Same thing with on autos. I don't understand how the rates are going up so fast. I know they can say we've had a lot of catastrophic storms, we've had hurricanes, we've had tornadoes, but their numbers are way too high. The auto insurance the same, and it is an issue we're focused on and trying to wrangle. And there's got to be that spot where you can negotiate lower premiums without them saying, we can't make a profit leaving the state. California's failed in that. We hope to be successful in that, but that's real. And the other thing that we're doing was one of our priorities here, I've got so many, on housing affordability, which is totally different than affordable housing. Housing affordability. We also have to lower the cost of housing. If you lower the cost of housing, you lower the cost of the insurance. And how do you do that? Well, our bills have focused on lot sizes, for example, in a certain, cities above a certain number, because some cities, for example, want a big lot size that requires a 3,500 square foot house. Well, now you're into the area of making it unaffordable for young people or first-time home buyers. And it automatically means their taxes are higher. It means all their insurance costs are higher. The average homeowner in Texas is 54 years old. The average new homeowner in Texas is 38. Young people have been boxed out of the housing market. So we're looking at insurance, continuing to reduce property tax that I talked about, never going to stop doing that. And we're looking at housing affordability, because that's a starter place. Not everyone who starts out needs a home on a big lot with a lot of square footage. And in a lot of communities, they're stuck in that position. If you go to Dallas, people in Dallas, school teachers and policemen can't, for the most part, afford to live in Dallas County. Travis County, people can't afford to have a house if they're a policeman or a school teacher or someone working at the Capitol here in Travis County. So we just have to make housing more affordable. It's a great question. Any other question? Yes.
You said that the next couple of weeks, if the House is continuing at its pace right now,
Yeah.
you'd be concerned. I'm curious to know what kind of actions would you like to see on that side that make it breathe a little bit easier? Is it passing school choice? Is it homestead exemption?
Well, I'm going to let the Speaker execute his plan. He obviously has a plan in place. I think I have a sense of what that plan is, but that's his plan. I have a different philosophy since I've been Lieutenant Governor. My plan has always been get every bill out as fast as we can. Be a steamroller, so that by April 15th, we're done pretty much all of our bills. We had about 3,000 bills filed in the Senate. We've already referred almost all of them to committee. There's a couple of hundred that haven't been referred. And we're looking at the bills we're going to pass out. Almost all the bills that are going to be passed out have passed out. Not all of them. So we're actually going to have all our work done by April 15th. My philosophy has always been, go fast. We can take a deep breath and then watch the House, negotiate with the House, and then receive their bills. I don't like to be up against the clock. And so anytime you're up against the clock, it's hard. But I know he has a plan, and obviously he has to get the budget out, get school choice out. The things that concern you is we have, is it 9 weeks or 8 weeks to go? It's 60 days. So, and if you actually take business working days, session days, that one bill could take up a whole day. School choice may take up a whole day or more on the House floor. or the budget. It takes a long time here too, but it doesn't take a whole day. It's because we only have 31, they've got 150. So looking realistically at the clock, you start to get concerned in another couple of weeks if some of the major bills aren't moving. But again, until he proves me wrong, I'm supportive.
I have another question about
Yes.
the lottery. When they announced those 2 investigations into the wins,
Yeah.
I recall you saying you were going to ask the governor to direct the Rangers to investigate the lottery commission
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
Do you still plan on doing that, or do you think these 2 investigations are?
Well, no, we already did. So think about this clock, what happened. On the Tuesday after the $83 million ticket was won on a Monday night, we had already had a bill to ban couriers before that happened. We had already passed it last session, as I mentioned, 29-2, and it didn't get a hearing in the House. So I went up to Win Corners, which was a courier location for Jack Pocket, owned by DraftKings, one of the big sports betting companies. And I came back, and I said, we need to get rid of the couriers. And what did the Lottery Commission say? The Lottery Commission said, oh, no, we can't regulate them. We can't do anything. 6 days later, they banned them. What happened in 6 days? To me, it looks like someone was trying to hide a lot under the rug. And so I'd asked the governor about a Texas Ranger investigation. We talked about it. So on that Monday that we had our hearing, he asked for a Texas Ranger investigation in the $95 million jackpot win and the $83 million jackpot win. I asked for a Texas Ranger investigation an hour later on everything from 2016 when the executive director began changing the rules under the radar to bring in courier service, allow foreign purchases, allow multiple machines, I would say hidden behind the wall in a lot of places. And I want a full investigation. Everyone on the outside who worked with the Lottery Commission and everyone on the inside. Because something is terribly wrong. And by the way, I believe his name was Gary Grief, who was the executive director that did all of this, who actually hired an attorney out of Las Vegas to write the rules. That was the testimony in committee. The GC then, the general counsel of the Lottery Commission, says, I don't think we can do this. And Gary Grief said, well, we're going to do it. And then what do you know? What do you know? A courier service that didn't even pay for the tickets they printed. 5 million tickets in 2023. They hadn't even paid for their tickets, and they happened to have the winning ticket. Did they print the ticket after they knew the number? But how does the Lottery Commission not make you pay for the tickets in advance? Can any of you go into your local convenience store and buy $20 worth of lottery tickets or $1 and say, I'll come back next week if I win? This stinks to high heaven. And there are lots of other examples of this. So both Texas Ranger investigations are going on. I don't think they'll be completed by the time session ends, so we're going to have to make the decision, are we going to continue the lottery? A lot of people like to play it. It's a lot of fun for a lot of folks, but we cannot renew the Lottery Commission if we can't trust it, if we can't look at people in the eye and say to Texas, you can trust the lottery, it's not corrupt, and you're going to get a fair deal, and the games are fair. If we can't do that, then we can't extend it. And we'll see. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. There's a group of OEG whistleblowers who received $6.7 million judgment from the Attorney General's office.
Yeah.
You guys will need to fund that if the judge approves it. Where do you stand on whether the legislature should fund that potential judgment?
You know, if it had been done a long time ago, history may be different for a lot of people, right? Same speaker might be over there, for example. One thing I do think, I think Ken Paxton was unfairly, in essence, robbed of $50,000 or so from his salary. I don't know what the final number was because they suspended his pay. We didn't do it. The House did it. They impeached him. We didn't. We just held the trial. And it's a bad precedent that you could impeach somebody and take away their pay, and then if they're found innocent, they don't get their pay back? I mean, so I don't know about this other deal. I'll stay out of that one. But I do think that the House owes Ken Paxton that back pay. And by the way, he hadn't asked me about that. I just don't like the precedent it sets. So we can impeach anybody, And if it goes on for months, they lose a third of their paycheck and they're found innocent, and they don't have it restored. That's not right. One more last question and we're done.
Last question on the property tax.
Yeah.
The House bill that you just referred.
Yeah.
It includes a good portion for businesses.
Yes.
And you go to negotiate with the House. How acceptable is that to you? You've been very focused on the homestead.
Yeah. So look, we've always been very pro-business in the Senate. I'm a small business guy. I get it. I know how hard it is. So I'm very open to ideas that Dustin, I would say, it's fair to say, he's really focused on the businesses, and I'm really focused on the homeowners. But he's also willing to do a lot for the homeowners, and I'm willing to do a lot for the businesses. So I really think it's kind of a good marriage. Here's some numbers that, and then we'll wrap with this, because people don't understand this. So I said we were spending $51 million on property taxes this year. 38 billion, 51 billion. 38 billion is compression. About 13 is homestead. Every billion you spend for compression is somewhere between $30 and $40 of a tax cut for a homeowner. A billion for 30 or 40 bucks. And it's not guaranteed, because anytime we have a downturn, you can take that compression back. It's just in statute. The homestead exemption for every billion is somewhere between 125 and 135, 4 times as much. So if the House, they have $3 billion in new compression, I believe, they would save you about 87 bucks and spend $3 billion. If you spend $3 billion on homestead, you're going to save about 375 bucks. Now, do you want an $87 tax cut or a $325? I'm rounding off numbers. So the homestead has better throw weight than compression. And the homestead is in the Constitution and cannot be taken away. So I believe that we will come up, I believe this, that we're going to come up with another huge property tax cut. Again, Dustin and I are working on maybe 200,000 exemption for seniors, 65 and over, on their school taxes, which in essence would wipe out almost every senior's M&O school taxes. There'll be exceptions if somebody lives in an $800,000 house or $1 million house, but pretty much across the state, they'd all be off of that forever. And there'll be some combination of compression, and then there'll be some business taxes. So I think we're actually going to come up with a really good package. So I feel good about that. Hey, thank you all for coming. I appreciate it.